Welcome to Destination Central. I'm Amy Forrest, and today we are on location at the Claudelands Event Centre for the Alpaca World Conference and Expo. And today I've got my co-host, Pearly Popstar, with me today. So it should be an awesome day to check out the event showcasing all the highlights. Now, this annual event is the alpaca industry's place to be, featuring the who's who of alpaca personalities from around the globe for this 5-day event. So we're going to be having a chat to all the organisers of the event, so let's get this show started. Come on, Pearly. This event is massive, and there must have been a huge amount of hours put into ensuring its success. So first of all, we're going to have a chat with one of the event organisers to find out what's on offer. Well, Brenda, you must be very proud of the turnout here. So tell me a little bit about the whole event of the Alpaca Expo.
Well, this is our national show, major event of the year for New Zealand alpacas. This year it's kind of different because we've got our international fleece show, and then we follow on with our World Alpaca Conference, which New Zealand has the privilege of hosting this year.
Not only will the national show be taking place, but the international fleece show, which is the first of its kind here at this event, will be taking place as well. So let's go and have a chat with one of the judges, Lynn. So Lynn, this is the first year that the international fleece show has been brought to New Zealand. So talk us through the show.
Well, we had almost 400 entries in the show from all over the world, I understand, and I haven't quite caught up with this yet because I'm not allowed to know that before I judge, but yeah, there were fleeces from Australia, Norway, the UK, New Zealand of course, and yeah, there may have been other countries even, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah, so do they send them through, or do they have to be here on the day?
They have to, no, they send them through earlier. They have to go through customs. And
yeah, how do they get along with going through customs?
That's the New Zealand organisers have, worked through a protocol for that to all happen. And yeah, it's a massive effort, so yeah, they've done a great job.
Yeah. So tell me, as a judge, what are you looking for in a good fleece?
Well, first of all, we look for the fineness, the fineness of the fleece. As with merino and sheep, the measurement of an alpaca fleece is in micron, and so we want fineness of micron, uniformity of micron, consistency throughout the fleece. We also want high fleece weight because that's a commercial quality that the grower needs to have. They are paid for their fleece on the micron fineness and the amount of fleece. So, and we look for nice, clean fleeces. You have beautiful, clean fleeces here in New Zealand, as opposed to some of the ones I was judging in Australia. So yeah, no, it was very rewarding job.
I bet. Well, all the best for the next few days, and with the show. It's all sounding very exciting. We're going to have a little look around now as well. Yeah. Next up, we're about to meet the stars of the show. Now, these exotic creatures are about to be judged on their beautiful looks. So let's find out from the judges what they're looking for in the perfect alpaca. So Paul, tell me about your experience in the industry and how you became to being a judge here at the National Show.
Well, it's quite a long story. I've been involved with animals for the last 30, 40 years. I've been involved with zoos and conservation, and in the last 20 years I've been involved with alpacas. First of all with llamas. I've had llamas for 22 years, and alpacas I've kept and bred for about 15 years. So it's been quite a long introduction.
Wow, okay, so tell me about the national show here over this weekend.
Well, this is our most important show of the year. All animals from all over the country, from as far south as Invercargill, right up to Northland have come, and we've got 480 odd alpacas, which is a pretty big show for us. Yeah. And what's really interesting is the improvement in quality.
Okay, yeah, so tell me a little bit about the industry.
Okay, well, the industry first started, I think, back in about the late 1980s, when the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries did joint projects with the Chilean authorities and helped them with their breeding programs for alpacas in Chile. And from that, there was seen an opening to bring alpacas to New Zealand because outside zoos there were very few alpacas in the world.
Okay, now back to the national show. What are you looking for? How are you going to put these alpaca to the test?
Well, it's fleece quality. I mean, the alpacas are superb as far as the softness, the lustre and the handle of the fleece. When you make it into a garment, it's the softness and the way that the garments hang that makes the alpaca fibre so valuable on a worldwide basis. So we're looking at animals that are producing the soft fleece, this really lovely handle to the fleece, and also good commercial fleece length as well.
Wonderful. Well, all the best for the show, and we're going to have a little look at some of your judging as well later on in the day.
Great, sounds good.
Not only do they have an informative conference for those in the industry, but they have a few other events up their sleeve as well. So we're going to have a chat with Anya about how to get our hands on our very own alpaca. So Anya, tell me, how did you get into this industry?
We started about 9 years ago. We saw alpacas like many people do at an A&P show, fell in love with them, and the rest is history.
They're very lovable creatures, aren't they?
They are indeed, yes. We have about, started off with 3 or 4 alpacas, we now have close to 100 alpacas.
Oh, wow. Now, tell me about can you talk us through the auction that's coming up?
Traditionally, we hold an auction for the National Expo, National Show, New Zealand's biggest. It's the highlight of our showing year, basically. And we hold an auction every year. The selection process, members of the association are invited to put animals forward that they feel are of elite quality. And from that, the selection committee chooses the animals after they've been inspected by a judge. And this year we've chosen 6 alpacas, elite alpacas, for our auction. A variety of colours. Different breeders are looking for different traits in alpacas. This guy over here, Chaska, is the most decorated alpaca in New Zealand. Over a 2-year period, he won 11 Supreme Championships, which is quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
We have a Suri entry as well. Suri is the alternate. There's 2 different types of alpaca. You have the Suri or the Wakaya. Chaska over here is a Wakaya. We have a Suri entry. We've also got lighter coloured alpacas, as well as a brown alpaca in the show.
Okay, so we've got a little star next to us, do we?
We do indeed, we do.
Now, tell us about the auctioneer.
Steve Davis, who is very, very well known in the bloodstock industry in New Zealand. He auctioneers in Australia, very well known, as well as South Africa and New Zealand, of course. And he will be in charge of our auction this year, which he's looking forward to. In fact, he's especially cutting a trip short to come back to take care of our auction on Sunday, which starts at 5:30 after a cocktail party. So we're very much looking forward to that.
Oh, it sounds lovely. Now, tell me, what sort of price range do the alpaca go for?
Depending on the quality of the animal. This year we're hoping for some good prices. We've had some good interest in the animals. A few years ago we had an auction and the highest selling alpaca sold for 45,000. It was a female, in fact. We do see big numbers in Australia as well with auctions. So this year we're hoping for some good numbers as well.
Well, thank you very much and all the best for the auction.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Well, of course, this event would not be possible without the sponsors, so let's have a chat to the ones backing this event. So Shirley, tell me, how are you involved in this big event?
Well, I decided to take out the Platinum sponsorship, which is the main sponsorship of the show, so that I could showcase my Leopardapaloosa alpacas to the world. And we also have an international fleece show as well, so I thought, well, that was an opportunity to show the fleeces actually off the animals. So taking out the Platinum sponsorship, it just gives me so much exposure, and it opens the gate to the world.
So why else did you decide to get behind and support the event?
Well, I guess coming from Christchurch, we have a fairly small base alpaca industry down there. When you put it all together and put the 2 islands together, you get a much bigger volume of alpaca. To be able to be one of the people that can showcase your animals to the world, to Australia, back to America, things like that, it makes it a huge impact on everybody, not just me.
And what do you think of the turnout so far?
Oh, the turnout's absolutely amazing. I've never been on the North Island before, so for me to bring my alpacas all the way from Christchurch has been fantastic. And just to see so many different alpaca, okay, there's not many like mine here, but to meet the other people in the industry that you only ever see their names or faces and on Facebook or in the industry, it's just wonderful. It's brilliant.
Well, welcome to this side of the country.
Thank you.
And what are you looking forward to most at this event?
Well, I found out last night that my little boy that I imported from Australia took out the finest Wakaya fleece of the show, and there was about 400 fleeces, and it is just an absolute honour for him to have taken it out because he's a coloured animal and it's normally for the whites. So to walk up tomorrow and get my trophy for that will just be amazing.
Oh, that sounds very exciting.
It is.
So why is it a great opportunity for those in the industry to get together at such an event?
I think everybody's like-minded and they're all after the same thing. They're all after to have the best alpacas, they want to have great genetics and things like that. But to bring people together how they are doing with this event, it gives people the opportunity to see what other people have got. It gives them the opportunity to maybe advance their breeding program by bringing in other genetics. And you only hear from one end of the country, oh, so-and-so's done this on the North Island and so-and-so on the South Island. But to actually see the animal and go into their pen and meet the people, it's brilliant for the entire industry, because the industry in New Zealand is a very big industry, because we are the gateway to Europe for Australia and other countries like that.
And being in the alpaca industry yourself, talk me through how much maintenance, how much work is involved.
Okay, really my husband should answer that question, because he's the man that does everything at home. They're relatively easy to handle. They're very easy on the land. I'm extremely fortunate that he does all the general maintenance of them, as in day to day. I do all the toenail clipping and injections and medications and things like that. He sort of just makes sure that everybody's happy, and every day you go out and you look at them and you make sure they've all got 2 eyes and their 4 legs are down on the ground and there's none sort of, up in the air. But it's just, they're an easy animal, they're a majestic animal, they're a friendly animal. They're just so nice, they're inquisitive, and I think I love the inquisitiveness of them. Every time you go outside, they're there to look at you and you just think, oh, these are just a blessing to have. But basically, that's how easy they are. They're very, very easy to look after.
And how strong would you say the alpaca industry is here in New Zealand?
I started about 5 years ago, and I was just in pets, and then I went in, I saw an amazing leopard Appaloosa alpaca, so I decided to go into those. But since I've been in it, the quality of the alpaca has changed dramatically. A lot of people have put their hand in their pocket and have bought into New Zealand fabulous genetics from overseas, integrating those with the wonderful genetics we already have in New Zealand. We have got some of the top class alpacas in the world. And I just think that, we are a gateway, as I said before, to Europe for alpacas. We have wonderful quarantine and MPI services here, which enable us to only have a short quarantine period to send them over to Europe. The other thing is that it makes owning the alpaca worthwhile.
Great. And now you mentioned that you have the leopard Appaloosa, so tell me a bit about this breed.
Okay. Majority of alpacas are solid colour, and people, if they get a spot on them, they're usually horrified. They've got to breed that spot out or get rid of the spot. Me, I breed Appaloosa and the very, very rare leopard Appaloosas. There's not many of them in the world. I'm the only stud in New Zealand that's breeding them. There is one in Australia and there's one in the UK. As I said, they're very rare. They are an alpaca that have spots on their nose, up their ears, down their neck, along their body and down to the toes. That's a leopard Appaloosa. An Appaloosa is predominantly like the horse, just have spots. Instead of on the rump, it has them on the blanket, and it's got to have 6 or so even spots on the blanket area. I breed both. When my birthing period comes along and we see that little spotty nose come out, it is just so exciting. If I see a plain nose come out, it's going to be sweet anyway. I don't care what gender it is, as long as it's got spots all over it, and it's fantastic. Would you like to come and have a look at some?
Yeah, that sounds great. Wow, their spots are beautiful. So talk me through their fleece.
These guys are both leopard Appaloosas, and they're both half brothers. They've got the same father, and these are ones that I bred myself. They're quite special because you'll notice that they've got spots on their nose, up through their ears, down the body and through the toes. If you'd like to have a look in the fleece,
Yeah.
They're pretty amazing. They look beautiful. They're just numerous colours, and they're super fine. Yeah, they're really lovely. And this guy's a totally different sort of colouring.
Oh, wow.
He's more grey with the
Yeah.
tipping and things like that. So they're just quite amazing, the different colours that they have in the fleeces.
Looks like they've been to the salon to get special frosted
Well,
tips.
with the weather in here, it's just made them a bit limp and a bit damp today. But this little fellow is a really, really sweet fellow. His name's Leopard Warrior, and I've got quite a few people in Europe that want him. But at this stage, I'm just not ready to let him go.
Well, fair enough.
Because I'm actually I'm personally funding 2 geneticists in Australia to find the spot gene for me.
Wow.
And they're both speaking here at the World Alpaca Conference this Monday and Tuesday, so that should be really interesting. We've done bloods and bits and pieces like that on them to try and find them so that we can actually sell, you know, an animal that's going to produce spots to people, because that's what they're buying. And it's just wonderful to have little animals like this. He knows that he's my baby.
They're absolutely beautiful. So thank you very much for having a chat, and all the best for the rest of the expo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Now, part of this massive event, of course, is the trade stands showing off the finest of alpaca products. So let's take a look at what they have on offer. So Caroline, tell me a bit about your brand, the Alpaca Company.
The Alpaca Company started about 9 years ago. We went to an A&P show in Tauranga, saw our first alpaca, fell in love with it, never really thinking we'd progress too far from there. And we kept going back, we kept looking them up and checking out on the internet and going to the various shows, and became addicted, I guess. And all we wanted to do was to get some giftware to send to friends and family, because we're from the UK obviously, and we wanted to send stuff back. We couldn't really find what we wanted, so we sat down one day and my husband Simon turned around and said, well, let's start our own giftware company. And that's literally how it started. And we always wanted to do something slightly different. So we had a good idea what we were looking for, things like the splashy, the bright, the fun. So we literally just found some fantastic craftspeople around New Zealand and went to see them, said, could you design one of these like an alpaca? So once they got over the what does an alpaca look like, and we handed them the pictures, everybody was fantastic. Over 9 years, it's gone from 2 or 3 products to about 100 now.
Wow. Well, it sounds like it's just gone from strength to strength. So tell me a little bit about why alpaca fibres are great for the use of clothing.
The alpaca fibre, it's quite unique. It's got a lot of very special qualities. And I guess one of the biggest things that the alpaca is so good for is it can be used for people that don't get on very well with wool. So it's great against the skin. A nice superfine alpaca, you're not going to get that itch that you can sometimes get with wool. And also weight by weight, it's lighter. So a jacket like that, if that was in merino of that weight, it would feel a lot heavier. So you can wear a light jacket, still get the thermal property, still feel nice and snuggly in it, and you're not going to get that big, heavy, woolly feel. So.
Oh, you got some lovely products here. Are there some that are more popular than others that are running off the shelf?
Oh, I guess the splashy is fantastic. Local company, as you know. The colours just draw everybody's attention. Everything's handmade, hand-painted, it's all different. And people tend to look and say, that one's for me.
Yes.
So.
And what would you say is unique about your product?
We've made every effort to keep it unusual, and we tend to design most things ourselves and then take them to the right people for them to adapt. So the jewellery, we designed the shapes of the jewellery, then we took it to a jeweller who could make it into something beautiful and get it out of here and off the piece of paper that I've doodled on. So we have tried to keep it unique, and I guess that's our brand now. People know that the new products are something different. They're not going to see them anywhere else unless we've got small wholesale orders to potentially shops or other breeders. But virtually everything is ours, so, and that's quite exciting, really.
Yeah, very exciting. So how can people get their hands on this product?
Come to shows like this. We go to the two big shows a year, which is the Alpaca Expo and the Alpaca Conference every year, but primarily off the website. So thealpacacompany.com, and nearly all our products are on there, and that's just being revamped at the moment, so we'll be getting much more of the knitwear on there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Caroline, and all the best for the rest of the
Thank
Expo.
you very much. Nice speaking to you.
So, Louise, tell me about Groovy Scarves.
Well, Groovy Scarves started because we moved down from Nelson and we bought 10 acres and we didn't really know what to put on that land. So we did some research and we decided that alpacas were the best animal to put on our land. And then as the years went by, we ended up with a lot of fibre in our shed, just sitting there not doing anything. So I thought, right, we've got to do something, make a little bit of money about this. And so then I started Groovy Scarves. We started with felting, and it's a wet felting process, and we do the felting on silk. So it's silk and alpaca, it's totally natural fibres.
So can you tell me a bit about the process that it might take to create one scarf?
Okay, so after it's been carded, you notice some of my stuff is either natural colours or some are dyed. So after it's been carded, then I would dye it. And then I lay out my design on a table, and with the fibre, silk and then fibre, and then it gets rolled up. And luckily we've been able to import a machine, so it goes in our rolling machine and it gets processed, rolls back and forward for about 12 minutes, and then I just keep taking it out and checking it. And that's really all about it. So,
and how long would it take?
For one scarf it takes about an hour.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, a scarf in an hour. And what other products do you have available?
Well, luckily my mother does some knitting, so she's managed to do a little bit of knitting for me, some little baby wear, and I also have knitters and scarves there as well, and some hats.
Yeah, they all look very lovely. And tell me, I asked Caroline this question as well. What is it about the alpaca fibre that's great for clothing?
Well, it's a lot softer than your wool. It's very lightweight as well. And for somebody who's got an itchy allergic reaction to wool, it doesn't cause a reaction at all. It's just lovely, lovely and soft.
Now, how can people buy your product?
Okay, well, we sell it online, and our website is www.bellavinealpacas.co.nz.
And tell me about so the Bellavine is the farm. Tell me about
the Bellavine alpacas is what we named our farm, and then we've created Groovy Scarves from our farm, Bellavine Our Farm animals.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Well, unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the Alpaca World Conference and Expo. Now, we've had an amazing time here and hope that you've enjoyed seeing the highlights from your living room. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. Come on, Pearly.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.